We have arrived at the main event of the international webinar, which will be guided by the moderator, Dr. Anda Nani Nuraini Sarah, MSI. Dr. Anda Nani Nuraini Sarah, MSI is a lecturer Pamulang University at Office Administration D3 program. Please welcome Dr. Anda Nani Nuraini Sarah, MSI. Time and place is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Uni, as our host who has been with us this morning. From now on, I will continue this event by our invited speaker. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to greet the Honorable Chairman of Sasmita Jaya Foundation, Dr. Pranoto SEMM, Rector of Pamulang University, Dr. E. Nurzaman AM, MMMSC, Dean of Economic Business Faculty, Dr. Endang Ruhyat, SEMM, CSRE, CME, the Head of Office Administration D3 Program, Mr. Sugiarto, SEMM, our distinguished speakers, and also the faculty members, and do not forget all the dear participants here. Welcome to the international webinar. The theme of this webinar is Innovation and Creativity in Global Entrepreneurship. I am Nani Nuraini Sarah, and it's a great honor for me to serve you as a moderator for today's webinar. Today, we are gathered here to delve into the innovation and creativity in global entrepreneurship and explore the significance of today's industry. Our esteemed speakers will share their expertise, insights, and experiences, providing us with their valuable perspectives. Before we begin, allow me to go over a few items to ensure a smooth and enjoyable experience for everyone. Number one, there will be 4 speakers today, and for the speakers, time allocation for delivering your presentation is 30 minutes. The committee will be happy to assist you to share your points so that the speaker may focus on delivering presentation if you want to do so. For participants, we encourage active participation from you. So right after each speaker, we will have question and answer session. Participants can submit his or her questions through the chat box during the presentation or just click the raise hand sign. Please ensure your microphone is muted throughout the session to minimize background noise. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available for viewing later on our platform. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce you to our first speaker, Mr. Budi Rahman, a practitioner from Malaysia. Well, we have already the picture here. He graduated from Gadjah Mada University, majored in electrical engineering in 1995. As a solution architect and global practice lead for IFRS implementation, he has more than 29 years of professional experience in finance or accounting software development and delivering large scale of ERP and IFRS transformation program. As a founder of Hamilton Engine Accounting Automation Software, Budi has implemented the program in more than 50 companies across the globe. Wow. Mr. Budi is an expert in bridging gaps and implementing effective solutions for the IFRS program, which is driving automation in accounting, data accuracy, and in compliance with the new accounting standard. Today, he will bring a presentation on Be a Creator, Not a User, by using 7 Habits framework to create a product. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Budi Rahman from Malaysia. Mr. Budi, the time is yours.
Thank you, Gunani. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, girls, boys.
Morning.
Jawab, Rahman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Can
you
you hear
are.
me? Okay.
Okay. Would you like
Okay.
to do the points by yourself, or
Yeah.
would you prefer the committee to do it for you?
No, I will do it myself. Let
Okay.
me share my screen.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Salam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya, selamat pagi. Terima kasih Bapak-Bapak Ibu-Ibu. Yang terhormat Bapak Pranoto, SEMM, Bapak Dr. I. Nurzaman, AMMM, MSI, Bapak Ibu Endang ya, Ibu Endang Ruhyat, dan yang terhormat Pak Sugianto, SEMM. Okay. Yeah. Today, this morning, I'm glad and excited to meet all of you to discuss and share some of my experience working in other countries. Right. Today, we have a discussions. Anything you would like to ask, please feel free to ask me. Okay. And today, the title that I would like to present to all of you is about be a creator, not a user. Okay, because in this global era, the winner. Hello, am I audible? Hello, is it audible? Is it okay? Can you
Yeah,
hear
it's
me?
still okay. Yes,
Okay.
we still can hear you.
Okay, so I'm going to share some of my experience in the past. Okay, and we have used a special framework that we learned from Harvard Business School. So this called 7 Habits framework, right, to create a product. Okay, let me start with my first slide. So the objective for this presentation is to. Will it be possible if the participants mute while I'm speaking? Bisa ini dah mute, jadi supaya bisa kita discuss
Mute guys.
bersama ya. Ya. Okay. Jadi today's topic, I would like to share some of my experience and encourage you to be a creator and not a user. Okay. In Indonesian language, there is a term for it called hilirisasi. Mungkin buat teman-teman adik-adik yang kemarin see the presidential candidate debate, this hilirisasi words becomes very famous now. So what does it mean, hilirisasi? Okay, hilirisasi means it's a process to add value to the raw material. So we will produce either a semi-finished products or services or a finished products or services. So hilirisasi itu meningkatkan nilai tambah raw material yang kita punya. Ya, kan? Indonesia itu hampir mempunyai semua resources, semua raw material. Tapi yang terjadi sekarang, yang saya sendiri terlibat di situ adalah raw material yang ada di Indonesia itu sebagian besar dijual sebagai raw material, bukan sebagai barang yang sudah jadi, setengah jadi ataupun yang sudah jadi. Nah, jadi hari ini, today, right, dan saya akan coba sharing bagaimana kita bisa menciptakan produk atau jasa, ya kan?
It is same.
Okay, so in this event, this today's wonderful event, there are 4 keywords: innovation, creativity in global entrepreneurships. Okay, innovation and creativity is something that built inside us as humans. God gave us akal, right? So this is something that built inside us that differentiates us from animals or from other beings. Another word called entrepreneurships. So these things are not new. These ones already exist since thousands years ago. So entrepreneurship itu adalah hal yang memang sudah ada sejak manusia itu ada pertama kali, ya kan? But the new word, global or globalization, is something that recently happened in these centuries, right? So what globalization means? Globalization means interdependence, saling ketergantungan, baik itu ketergantungan ekonomi, budaya, dan manusia. So the globalization is just recently happened. I think maybe the last 50 years, okay? When especially it becomes booming when internet era, okay, comes. But globalization has a challenge. The challenge because the nature of human created a cluster, right? So a group of people which we call it nations. Jadi ada bangsa Indonesia, bangsa Malaysia, bangsa Singapura, bangsa Amerika, bangsa China, bangsa Jepang. Peoples connected, right? But there is a clusters based on their own, perspective. Each clusters, each group wants to be a winner against other clusters. So that is the challenge that we are facing. But this is part of the natural thing. So in Indonesia, we are part of a cluster called Bangsa Indonesia atau NKRI, right? So we have, how can we win in these globalizations era? Okay, so this is just an introduction. So each cluster, right, we can map it into 4 quadrants. Jadi ada 4 quadrant. The first quadrant is a comparison between consumptions and productions. So each clusters, they're part of this one of this quadrant. Low consumptions, low productions. Okay. High consumptions, low productions. Okay. Low consumption, lower consumptions, then productions, or high consumption and high productions. Right. Sekarang saya tidak akan memberikan contoh negara apa yang ada di sini, tapi kita mesti lihat, kita sebagai bangsa Indonesia, we know where we are, right? So Indonesians at these times has more consumptions than productions. It means in order to support our needs, right, as a nations, we need other nations to support us because we still have more consumptions than productions, right? Contohnya saja, mobil, sepeda motor, peralatan yang elektronik, itu semua dari luar. So if you look at the diagram, right, in order to produce some things, the producers need resources or raw materials, then produce products or services and consumed by consumers. But the problem is these consumers providing resources to producers become like, we call it is a devil circle or lingkaran setan. So this is happening today. I'll give you examples in Indonesia. So Indonesia is a crude oil producers, right? One of the largest crude oil producers, minyak mentah. But these crude oil producers, right, sold to other nations. So the other nations produce it, convert it into a finished products. In this case, like, yang kita tahu sebagai bensin, ya kan, untuk bahan bakar pesawat terbang, untuk bahan bakar kendaraan kita, itu adalah final products. So we sell it as a raw material, but other nations use it to produce a finished product and consumed by us. This circle, we have to break it. Sebabnya, berdasarkan data bahwa consumer dengan producer, kalau kita tahu itu kita ada istilah yang kita sebut sebagai customer is the king, but actually a producer a true winner. And there is a wealth transfer from consumer to producers. Over time, consumer become poorer and producers become richer. And not just wealth, but the knowledge, accumulated knowledge. So accumulated wealth and knowledge, right? So that's why based on my experience, if we want to be winning these competitions, we cannot be a user. We have to be a creator or producer. Okay, I'm going to, have wild imaginations in these presentations as call it a study case. Let's assume that we are going to build a flying car, right? And later on, at the end of the presentation, I would like to, run a video, show a video to see how this flying cars works. Okay, so before I start, I would like to make a disclaimer. Based on research and statistics, okay, done by MIT, they found it that 95% of new products introduced today fail. Only 5% successful in the market. Why 95% of products introduced to the market fail? The main reasons because these products introduced do not solve the problem. So these are the keywords. So if we introduce products or services that do not relate to the actual problem that people having it today, then these products or services, doomed to failure. So yang 5% tadi adalah produk-produk yang dia berkorelasi dengan solusi untuk menjawab masalah yang dihadapi oleh kita manusia di sini. Jadi itu guidance-nya. Nah, sekarang saya akan masuk kepada the 7 habits. The 7 habits is introduced by Stephen Covey. I encourage, students to read the book. It's a very good book. That is the first book that I read after graduated from university in 1995. And the book gave to me by my first company, Astra International, because in Astra International, PT Astra International become like a mandatory book for all employees that just joined Astra International. So this book really inspired me and changed the way I solve the problem. So I use it in all kind of challenges, the one that I've been facing it since I graduated from university until today. Then I use it to create as a framework to guide me to create a product. So the first habit is called be proactive. So what be proactive means? So be proactive is like, kalau saya bilang kalau Anda pemain bola, itu jangan menunggu bola, tapi mengejar bola. Ya kan? Atau kalau kita itu mau sehat, kita jangan tunggu sakit baru berobat, itu adalah tindakan yang reaktif, tapi kita lebih menjaga kesehatan kita supaya kita tidak sakit. Itu adalah be proactive. In this, how we implement this one for this framework, first, you need to do research. You need to ask a lot of people in terms of problems to solve, in terms of products to be introduced. So the initial findings after we collect all the data based on research, so use it as a discovery document. Of course, pertama kali ini adalah sebagai hypothesis and assumptions, right? So whether the product that we introduce for the right place, in this case, let's say the right place is Jakarta, the right product, as I mentioned, we try to build a flying car. Apakah the right price? People able to buy, affordable, the right time, whether the time is right, and we need to know also whether we have people to manage the product, to build the product, and do we have enough money or not to do it? So this is kind of hypothesis and assumptions. So we put it under discovery. But the most important thing after we have this discovery, it goes to the second habit, which is begin with end in mind. So begin with end in mind Jadi kita harus memulai sesuatu itu dengan akhir. Jadi kalau ditanya, Anda mau kemana? Saya mau ke Bandung. Jadi tujuannya yang kita jelaskan, bukan prosesnya dulu. Ya kan? Nah, dari discovery tadi, we have to build, okay, in our mind, mental creation, we have to imagine, so the solution or the product that we are going to create, what will be the impact, right? Jadi yang paling penting adalah bukan masalah ide yang mau kita jual atau great idea yang kita punyai, tapi adalah bahwa produk itu memberikan jawaban terhadap real problem. That is the keywords. As I have mentioned in the previous slide, that 90% of new product introduced fail because they are focusing on the great idea, not based on the problems, okay, to be solved. Dan juga yang harus jelas itu adalah ini untuk siapa, produk ini untuk siapa. Nah, Michael Scott dari Harvard Innovation Labs itu memberikan guidance bagaimana kita mendefine suatu problem, mendefinisikan suatu masalah. Jadi masalah itu yang a problem well defined is a problem half solved. Jadi kalau kita bisa mendefinisikan masalah dengan baik, setengah solusinya sudah terjawab. Nah, itu ada 4, kita bilang ada 4 use method to define the problem. The first one is unworkable, unavoidable, urgent, and underserved. So what does it mean? Those 4 words, right? I need to monitor my time here. So unworkable means if we do nothing, what happens with the problem? Jadi kalau kita tidak melakukan apa-apa, katakan kita tadi ambil contoh di Jakarta, problem di Jakarta itu yang kita tahu adalah kita identifikasikan, kita bilang kemacetan, ya, atau banjir. If we do nothing, what will happen? Kalau kita tidak melakukan sesuatu, yang jelas itu adalah produktivitas kita akan menurun. Karena kita mungkin akan stres, biaya hidup akan meningkat, stres, depresi meningkat, mungkin orang tersenggol sedikit, dia langsung kejar-kejaran di tol, seperti yang terjadi kemarin. Itu sesuatu yang istilahnya di sini itu unworkable. Oke, itu yang mesti kita carikan solusinya. Terus unavoidable. Unavoidable itu artinya tidak bisa dihindarkan lagi. Ya kan? Untuk hal ini, yang tidak bisa dihindarkan adalah manusia makin bertambah. Oke. People produce more people. Right. Jadi kalau dulu di Jakarta mungkin 5 juta, sekarang mungkin sudah 10-15 juta. Jakarta juga menurut penelitian itu makin lama makin tenggelam. Itu sesuatu yang unavoidable. So the government knows. This is from the US. They found it from the satellite images. So Jakarta city is sinking. So this is something that unavoidable. That's why, maybe one of the considerations to move Jakarta as a capital, changed capital from Jakarta to the new capital in Kalimantan, right, in Nusantara. And the third one, urgent. Urgent means, is this the priority? So if we see the problem that we are facing today, like, the example, kemacetan atau kebanjiran, the problem become meticulous. Anytime there is no solution, it creates something more complicated. Jadi semakin lama problemnya itu semakin rumit, then finding the solution even more difficult. And another thing, pemborosan yang luar biasa, right? So it is wasting time and money that if we calculate, it becomes maybe $1 trillion already. It's just wasted like that. So another one, the last one is underserved. Underserved today, who is, providing the solutions, right? So in this example, the problem that we are facing, only government that alone are trying to solve the problem. So it means still not many solutions provided today. Jadi kalau kita mencoba mencari solusi, kita harus memetakan menjadi 4 U ini. Ini adalah guidance yang diberikan oleh Michael Scott dari Harvard Innovation School dan sangat terbukti, proven, bahwa kalau kita membuat produk menggunakan 4U model ini, ya insya Allah produk itu akan bisa terjual. Jadi unworkable, unavoidable, urgent, and undersold. Nah, the third habit atau habit ketiga itu put first thing first. Jadi kita coba buat yang kita sebut sebagai priority atau planning. Itu ada three major considerations. The first one, scope. Okay, scope, when we want to build a product, we have to make sure when the first time we want to create a product, we have to make sure, right, that this product achieve minimum viable product. Okay, and 4 minimum viable segments. So minimum viable product artinya adalah produk yang feature-nya paling basic, ya kan? Tapi bisa terjual. Tapi kita tidak perlu bercita-cita membuat itu jadi satu yang ideal dulu awalnya. Tidak mungkin. Tidak ada satu produk pun di dunia ini yang langsung jadi sempurna. Tidak ada. Semuanya sangat basic sekali. Nah, di sini nanti akan saya share my experience because I was part of the consultant, okay, build a product in China. So I'm going to share with you how the Chinese mind when they're building a product, and now proven that China, I think now even compared to other countries, now become the second nations that very powerful. Okay, Japan is no longer part of the three major countries, okay, that has a very strong economic. So jadi produk yang mau dibuat itu adalah produk yang mempunyai basic feature yang bisa terjual. Nah, yang kedua adalah kita harus bisa yang kita sebut sebagai cost atau people and money management. So people, do we have necessary skills to create the product? The how China did in the past. I was in China for 8 years. Right, I've been working for a Chinese company in Nanjing for 8 years. So just want to share with you, they didn't have the people at the time. So what they did, they imported people, okay, from other countries. So I was one of them, and they tried to, speed up the knowledge transfer. So when I was in China, okay, work for them, they didn't allow me to read by myself, right? So whatever I do, it has to be a local partner. So the knowledge I do transfer to the local partners. Jadi mereka banyak mendatangkan ahli-ahli dari luar, barang-barang dari luar, dia lakukan reverse engineering, dia pelajari, tentu itu sangat susah sekali, ya kan? Tapi begitu cara mereka untuk men-speed up knowledge transfer. Dan dia juga punya uang. Nah, dari mana uangnya? Nah, ini yang menarik. Sewaktu Cina membuat satu produk, kita tahu, mungkin berapa puluh tahun yang lalu, kualitasnya sangat jelek sekali. Ya kan? Jadi apapun, bahkan kalau mobil dulu ada di Indonesia, itu tahun 90-an, itu mobilnya hancur-hancur sekali. Sepeda motornya juga sangat kacau sekali. Itu tahun 90-an. Tapi itu yang dia bilang sebagai minimum viable product yang bisa diproduksi oleh Cina. Dan ternyata meskipun produknya kualitasnya jelek, tapi harganya murah. Jadi banyak yang bisa membeli. Nah, dari uang menjual produk-produk yang mungkin kualitasnya sangat jelek tadi, apapun, ya kan, dia punya uang, dan uang itu yang dia pergunakan untuk meng-hire people dari luar China untuk mengembangkan produk dia jadi lebih bagus. Ya kan? Tapi dari tiga ini ada yang mau saya tekankan, itu adalah timing is everything. Jadi banyak. When I was in China, right? When I was in China, this is something that we have to learn from China. So now, timing is everything because in their mind, once time is gone, we cannot reverse it, right? But if we do something wrong, we still have time to do a correction. Jadi kalau mereka ingin menciptakan sesuatu, ingin membuat sesuatu, yang utama buat mereka adalah waktu, bukan bahwa produk itu harus sempurna. Tidak. Produk itu dibuat hanya sesuai untuk minimum viable product. Ya kan? Tapi waktu itu menjadi critical. Jadi suatu ketika saya pernah ditanya, kita mau launch suatu produk, tapi produk itu banyak cacatnya masih, ya kan? Saya ditanya, apakah kita launch atau kita perbaiki dulu baru kita launch? Nah, dari pengalaman saya melihat bahwa kalau kita menunda launch suatu produk itu, kita akan kehilangan momentum. Jadi kalau momentum itu hilang, ya kan, kesempatan itu hilang, sebagus apapun produk itu jadi gagal. Nah, akhirnya kita memutuskan, kita launch, karena demi untuk mendapatkan momentum waktu tadi, meskipun produk itu masih belum sempurna. Makanya kalau dulu China itu terkenal dengan produk yang jelek, memang seperti itu, karena dia akan mencoba launch, perbaiki, sehingga di sana itu ada istilah yang disebut sebagai fast track evolutions. Jadi fast track evolution itu adalah kalau evolution itu adalah sesuatu yang lambat, tapi di China itu dipercepat, fast track evolution. Nah, sehingga sekarang kita lihat bahkan Elon Musk dengan Tesla saja itu sudah boleh dikatakan bangkrut melawan BYD produk dari China. Jadi saya saat ini melihat China itu menjadikan superpower yang kita bisa belajar dari mereka. Nah, yang keempat, kalau kita membuat satu produk, kita juga harus berpikir think win-win. Ini habit keempat di 7 Habits. Nah, win-win, kita harus lihat apa yang customer inginkan, apa yang bisa kita berikan. Itu ada irisannya. Ya, kita fokus kepada irisannya tadi. Jangan terlalu bernafsu untuk memberikan semua yang diinginkan customer, dan juga jangan bernafsu untuk menjual semua ide-ide yang kita miliki. Yang paling penting itu adalah kita bisa memenuhi minimum viable product tadi yang bisa kita jadikan prototyping, nanti bisa digunakan oleh customer. Ya kan? Nah, yang kelima, itu ada yang disebut dengan seek first to understand, then to be understood. To be honest, this is the most difficult part. Oke, jadi ini adalah konsep di mana kita diminta untuk lebih memahami orang lain. Ya, jadi kalau kita nanti di tim, the most difficult thing in my experience, almost 30 years in the project, I spend all of my time in the project only. The most difficult thing when you have a project is people management. People management is the most difficult one. Okay, and the enemy number one when you have an opportunity to do a project is miscommunications. So miscommunications is enemy number one in the project. Nah, kalau dengan eksternal, kita mesti memperlakukan customer kita atau user kita sebagai king. Ingat, king, meskipun nanti tujuan akhirnya produsernya adalah the winner, tapi customer harus kita treat sebagai king. Kita harus memahami needs sama problem mereka, ya kan? Kita harus mencari solusi yang membuat hidup mereka lebih mudah, user experience-nya bagus. Ini ada postulat. Jadi saya akan kasih sedikit postulat bahwa the solution that people will buy if you make them, become lazy. It is very funny. Jadi kalau contohnya aja kalau kita buat remote TV, remote AC itu sebenarnya membuat orang jadi lazy, tapi produk-produk itu yang laku di pasaran. Kalau dengan partner atau dengan vendor, itu kita mesti hati-hati juga karena dunia sekarang itu dunia saling contek-menyontek, makanya semua harus ada NDA-nya. Tapi yang paling penting adalah kita mesti mendevelop feedback mechanisms, right? Feedbacks from our customers, feedbacks from our internal team, so to make us a better. Nah, ini adalah contoh kalau ternyata apa yang dibuat, yang diinginkan dan yang dihasilkan, that's completely different thing. Right? So the customer explain number one, they explain like this. So the team understood differently. The team developed again has their own mind. Actually, the customers wanted a very simple thing. So this is just an illustration to give you an idea where the miscommunication is enemy number one. So when you build a product, make sure minimize miscommunication because this is enemy number one. Nah, yang habit number 6 itu adalah synergize. Nah, di tim itu akan ada berbagai macam skill set. But the key thing here, right, when you have a team, you need to have at least one champion. Okay, in my world, this champion we call it solution architect. So solution architect person, he or she knows the end to end from the beginning to the end. So she or he can speak the business and also understand the technology limitations, right? So we have to identify the teams, the people involved in your project. Jadi dalam contoh saya, bahkan kucing pun itu punya role. Jadi sekedar saya kasih pengalaman di tim saya, kita punya kucing. Ternyata dari penelitian itu kucing membantu kita kalau kita lagi stres. Nah itu ada risetnya sendiri dan itu terbukti di saya sendiri. Jadi kalau kami lagi sedang stres, itu kita bermain-main dulu dengan pet kita, dengan kucing kita. Jadi paling tidak untuk bisa menurunkan tingkat stres. Itu ternyata kucing pun di project yang kami buat itu punya role sendiri. Now the last habit is called sharpen the saw, which is continuous improvements, right? So these continuous improvements, if we learn from China, we call it fast track evolutions. So evolution is actually a small improvement, but very, very slow. It can be million years. But if we are trying to adopt how China has been doing it, they have a fast track evolutions. They do continuous improvements, but very fast. Jadi kalau salah perbaiki, tapi jangan sampai momentum waktunya hilang, karena waktu lebih penting di atas segalanya. So this is my, I hope I have managed the time correctly. So this is my last slide. So the next one, maybe we can have a Q&A. I'll return it to Bu Nani. Bu Nani, this is my last slide.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Budi. Wow, it's very interesting. And here is a quick overview of what we have heard from him. In his presentation, Mr. Budi Rahman discusses a framework of 7 habits to develop in order to create a product. So these range from considering the product creation pipeline to considering the ways that the customer will engage with the product. The U4 method gives us more insight of how the problem related to create product. China is one of the nation actually, as an example, that create a product in the right time. They learn from customers and also other experiences and create better product. So, well, here is come the times to question and answer session for Mr. Budi Rahman. Is there any question from the audience? Yeah, we'll have to hear from you. Let me check the chat box. Yeah, okay. Well, in the chat box, if you can open also, Mr. Budi, you have Vincentia Mutiara Siowarjaya. Okay, so the question is, Indonesia and Malaysia are both in the same family. Historically, the country is older than Indonesia and rich in natural resources. Indonesia is more capable than Malaysia. Okay. In fact, Malaysia is more prosperous than Indonesia. What do you think are the fundamental factors that make that happen? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the questions, Ms. Vincentia Mutiara. So there are 3. I live in 3 countries. Okay, Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Okay, most of my time live in Singapore actually. So before talking about Malaysia, let's see what Singapore does. Okay, Singapore is a country. Remember when I said consumption and production? Singapore is a country where they produce more than
Sorry, Mr. Budi, I lost your voice.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Vincentia Mutiara, for your questions. Okay. Before.
Yes, Mr.
Hello. You able to hear me, right? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear your sound and your voice.
Okay. So before I answer your questions regarding Malaysia, first, I would like to share with you about Singapore because I live in these three countries, right? Singapore is a country where they produce more than what they consume. Okay, I'll give you an example. In Singapore, if Singapore people want to buy a car, okay, they want to buy a car, they have money. But the problem is, you cannot buy a car without a license to own a car. First, you have to have a license to own a car. In Indonesia, we just need a license to drive. But in Singapore, you have license to own a car. They call it a COE, right? So these regulations actually control a car's population in Singapore at the same time. And at the same time, they don't, they control consumptions of the product. And government, without having car manufacturing facilities in Singapore, they can produce money by issuing a paper, right? So this is one of the policy. Another policy, I'll give you examples, like in Singapore, there are 2 casinos. So these casinos, if local people, Singapore citizens or permanent residents, if they want to go to casino, the government will discourage them. They have to pay almost $1.7 million. These casinos, okay, providing a great services for foreigners. So Singapore, so based on this thing, what we learned from Singapore, if we want to be a winner, we have to produce more, right? Then rather than consume it. So that is the number one. And how to do it? You have to import people from other nations. Okay, trying to encourage people from other nations where they have a bright minds, okay, with will to come to Singapore, right? Like people from China, from Indonesia, from Philippines, from US, from Europe, everyone come to Singapore, okay, to build Singapore. So Singapore is nation based on many people's brains, wealth, and the beauty of this, they are trying to increase their productivity, more produce more than consume. Malaysia, actually Singapore was part of Malaysia. So they study Singapore. So what Malaysia did, they're trying to mimic Singapore, right? So Malaysia import people from other countries also, learn from other countries. Actually, China did it, right? So dia bawa orang-orang pintar ke Malaysia, dia mencoba menyerap pengetahuannya, ya kan? Dia melakukan fast track transformation, fast track knowledge transfer. Dia punya resources, dia tidak menjual raw material dia ke negara lain. Oil yang diproduce oleh Petronas itu dibuat menjadi bensin oleh Petronas. Indonesia punya oil, tapi dijual ke negara lain, dalam hal ini dijual ke Singapura, terus kita beli bensin dari Singapura. Apakah ini great idea? So, I don't need to explain in more details. So, I'll just give you examples. If you want to be a great nation, produce. Don't sell our raw materials, right? We have to follow other countries. It's proven already. China, now China become, buying raw materials from other countries. Malaysia also trying to do it the same thing. They don't sell raw materials. They produce something, whether it is semi-finished product or a final products, but now they're trying to sell it something with value added. Hope to answer your questions.
Okay.
Okay.
So, well, hopefully that Vincentia satisfied with the answer. I see there is more questions, but this one perhaps need a long explanation about the China economic, why China economic growing very fast, yeah, compared to other country. But yeah, is it possible to have in 5 minutes?
Yeah,
more?
I will try to answer. And just, because I was in China for 8 years. That's why I knew exactly, since I was there in 2006 when the China not as big as today. So the simple word, as I said, right? China emphasize on timing. So that is I think the keywords emphasizes on timing. So timing for them is number one. If they want to introduce something, right, they have to introduce very fast. If something not working, they prefer to do corrections rather than waiting. Right. So that is the key success in China. Because if you are able to bring your product, sell your product on time, right, even though the quality not good, but you earn money already and use this money and the knowledge to do improvement, continuous improvements. Europe countries like Germany, for instance, they prefer to build a very sophisticated product, takes time, but very expensive. That's why if you compare European product or American product to Chinese product, is uncomparable in terms of pricing. But now quality, to be honest, Chinese product now in terms of quality, some of them is better. And today, you know, I think several times I took a Chinese aeroplane already from Malaysia to Indonesia. Now there is a very sophisticated electric car, BYD, the one that I mentioned, even make Elon Musk with Tesla go bankrupt. Jadi keywordsnya itu kalau kita mau China, pertama saya bilang appreciate time. Even in Islam, there is a word, there is a surah about time, demi masa. So I think the most important thing is do not waste the time because the time will not return. Do not waste your time playing games, do something non-productive. Use the time to be productive. Read, learn, you know, think, okay, and do not wait till you have an ideal product. If you have a good idea that solve the problem, even with the minimum features, start it now. Ya, itu yang China yang saya lihat.
Well, thank you, Mr. Budi, on providing us with such valuable
Thank you,
information.
Mr.
This
Budi.
is a good information for our students, right? Yeah, don't
Yeah.
waste their time with playing games. Yeah, don't be the customer, but be the creator. So that is what Mr. Budi sent us the message for today.
Yes.
Well,
Itu yang China buat.
yeah, that's right. Okay, and now moving along. Yeah, shall we go to the second speaker? Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Budi. Yeah,
Thank you.